evening and welcome to another current affairs series for the week from 6th of July to 11th of July. Not 6th of July, 6th of July to 11th of July. Yes. So this week there were few very good interesting development which happened, particularly our Prime Minister visiting the foreign countries such as Indonesia, Australia, and then presently he is in New Zealand. And also we have seen some very landmark uh, achievements by Indian defense system and science and technology. So let's begin the class with the uh, proverb that if you urge to do something, you don't give excuses. Excuses are for peoples who does not have the urge to achieve it. Okay, who gave this proverb? I gave this proverb, nobody else. Anyways, so let's begin the class. So the topics which we are going to discuss today, the first one is the third annual India Australia Leader Summit which happened recently, and our Prime Minister visited Australia. We have seen that he is making quite a good tour in the regions of Indo-Pacific region. Okay, and in the last class also we have discussed about what is this Indo-Pacific region. Okay, what is this Southeast Pacific region. We have seen that our Prime Minister is making a lot of visits to these countries in Indo-Pacific region just to build up a good rapport and strategically build up a good partnership for, we can say it is a comprehensive partnership or a comprehensive strategy to build a good economic relation, social, political, and cultural relation. Next news is the India Indonesia relation, where our Prime Minister visited the country and he was also awarded with the highest award. Um, Third is the 13th ASEAN India Trade in Goods and Agreement. This is also a very important article because here we'll see that what are the things India is doing and how has been India coping up with the ASEAN countries, because India is not a member, but yet we have certain free trade agreements with the ASEAN countries, which is helping grow our economy and also is providing market for the sale of our products, particularly agricultural products. Then the locus digital platform, particularly for women empowerment, related to Deen Dayal Upadhyay of National Rural Employment Mission. Okay, then we have the disabled child sex abuse content by Ministry of Information and Technology. That is, Meta has been given an order, or has been given a not exactly but what was given a summon by the government of India to remove explicit content. Then we have the need for second home for Asiatic lion. This has been taken from the editorial section, where there was a discussion regarding the Asiatic lion has to be relocated from Gujarat to some other region, particularly in Madhya Pradesh. But there's a huge debate going on where the Gujarat government is not releasing these lions, and they are saying that we will not relocate them to some other state. We are going to relocate them within our state, and thus they have created a new wildlife sanctuary for the lion. Then we have the Indra Point project, and this is also a very important, though it is more relevant for your prelims perspective, but the overall understanding about this project is important for the mains perspective, because this particular point or this particular project has a huge importance in maintaining the maritime security of India and other countries in the Indian Ocean region. Then we have the operation Amisat, that is the operation towards Venezuela. Due to the severe earthquake which happened in Venezuela, India is launching an operation called Amritsar this is a humanitarian operation. And then we have the Mahendragiri Shield frigate which is to be commissioned, and this is something kind of a warship. We're going to see into it in detail. So let's start with our first article. Okay, the first article is the third annual Indian Australian leadership. See, like I said, our Prime Minister has visited Australia recently, and he has made some good MOUs and has signed a lot of agreements with the government. And his visit to these countries has been very much critical and has been, properly planned, so that we see that the kind of aggression China is showing towards India in the regions of Indian Ocean and also in the region of South China Sea. Okay, India has to use some other means, because we cannot directly defeat or compete China in terms of money, but we have to use our diplomatical ties, both culturally, socially, or through some other means, education wise, so that we build good rapport with these countries and we have good strategic partnership, so that in future, in the coming years, we have a backup when it comes to counter any aggression by any country towards India. So that is why our Prime Minister is making a lot of visit to to these countries. You see, particularly since last 1 month, you will see the Japan's Prime Minister's visit. Okay, you will see the visit to Maldives, Maldives, then Seychelles. Now he has gone to Indonesia. Now, then he has gone to Australia. Now he has gone from Australia to New Zealand. There's a reason for all of this visit. Okay, and it is not something which you see in the news, which highlights that he is just on a vacation. No, strategically and diplomatically, these visits are very, very important. So let us see what are the things which happened in this visit. So before this, first understand, we'll just make a revision about what is this Indo-Pacific vision of India, or what is this Indo-Pacific region. So here you will get to know about two words. One is the Indo-Pacific region, another one is the Indo-Asian region. Indo-Pacific and Asia, the difference between this is that in Asian region, it is basically talking about this particular region. Okay, that is the Asian countries, but particularly Southeast Asian countries. But when you talk about Indo-Pacific region, it includes a large area. That is, it includes this particular area of the Pacific Ocean, which includes, India, includes South Africa, I mean the African continent, it includes the Asian countries, it includes Australia, it includes New Zealand, it includes Japan, it includes these coastal regions of South America and North America. So basically, this is more of a kind of a strategical initiative, i- strategical initiative. And this Indo-Asian region or Indo-Asian strategy is more for economic prosperity. And if you talk about the uh, programs like such as Quad, these are all something which are which are aligned with the idea of Indo-Pacific vision of India. Now, what all did happen in this meeting? So it is the third Indian Australian leader summit, and remember this meeting, the first one in 2014, when Mr. Modi took to uh, prime ministership position, he made a visit to Australia, which marked as a very important visit in developing the bilateral relationship between India and Australia. So there were a lot of MOU signed. So let us look at the key highlights. The first key highlight of the visit is the civil nuclear agreement. Like I said you, in 2014, when he went to Australia and he signed this agreement for a civil nuclear agreement, where the nuclear technology will be used for civil purposes. But though it was signed in 2014, but due to the supply of uranium from Australia, okay, sorry, though it was signed, but it was not into effect. And what does it talk about? It talks about the uranium supply from India. So this particular agreement has been signed, has been made operational. So it has been made operational. Earlier it was just signed, but it was not operational. So now it is in operational. Now what does this agreement talk about? It talks about the supply of uranium from Australia, as because Australia has the largest uranium reserves. But however, remember, though it has the largest uranium reserve, the largest uranium producer is Kazakhstan. So Australia has the reserve, but the producer is Kazakhstan. Then the economic ties, that is the bilateral investment treaty, where parties from India can invest in Australia, and parties from Australia can also come and invest in India. So it's a bilateral investment treaty where both the countries will benefit from their investments. For example, an Indian company which makes Indian product will go and invest in Australia and start the manufacturing or start the farming of that particular product. Say a company who makes a particular product, electronic products, who is based in Australia, can come to India and start its production in India. But this is a bilateral investment treaty where both the country benefits. Then there is an agreement signed for the critical mineral and supply chain. That is, these critical minerals, whichever India has or Australia has, there will be an exchange of these critical minerals. Okay, and also there is an expansion for cooperation in terms of cyber security, critical technology, and the resilient supply. Apart from this, the next is the regional security, that India and Australia both has come to a term, and also not just Australia, India has come in term with Japan also. We have seen in the last week, that is the Indo-Pacific region should be left free, and there has to be rule-based operation of any kind of movement in the Pacific region. I mean in the Indo-Pacific region. So to maintain the regional security, they reformed to support the free, open, stable, and rule-based Indo-based freedom of navigation or movement. Then there is the deepening of space exploration backbone, wherein Australia has agreed to set up a multi-island technical telemetry link to improve the India's launch tracking capacity. Example is the Cocos Keeling Island for the upcoming Gaganyaan mission, who will give us the live tracking data of the Gaganyaan mission, which has been set in the Cocos Keeling Island. And the last, not the last exactly, but the most important ones is the agreements on education, mobility, and cultural pact. Like I said you in the earlier class, we saw that how India made agreements of people to people agreement with Japan, wherein the people of Japan will come to India, will get skill, will get trained, and go back to Japan and work there. In the same way, Indian people also will go to Japan, will get skill, will get trained, or will get educated, and then will come back to India. Okay, in this way there is no brain drain as such, but there is an exchange of culture, education, and tradition. The same thing has been done here also, where UGC issued a letter of intent to Flinders University to open its campus in Bangalore. So Flinders University will be opening a campus in Bangalore, and also an approval to Victoria University for campus in Gurugram. And also there will be a grant of around $10 million allocation for the Maitri grants, wherein there will be exchange of students from one region to the another, I mean from India to Australia, for better education, better training in medical, in science, in technology, in humanitarian cases, and also in medicines. Particularly if you look into, there's a huge student uh, diaspora in Australia. Okay, and the last one, which was very much in the news, is the reputation of the Indian artifact. Now, what is this reputation of the Indian artifact? See, there are three artifacts or antiquities which was in news, was very much highlighted. The first one being the sacred bull Nandi, the sacred bull Nandi. The second one is the trident of auspicious Kali or Bhadra Kali, we say it. And the third one is the six-headed Shanka. So these are three antiquities which belongs to or date back to 11th to 12th century. And somehow or the other, these antiquities reach Australia. Now, how did they reach? This basically reach through smuggling, trafficking, or theft, or through uh, 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 wherein these products were sold in Indian market, and some foreigners from Australia might have bought it and taken it to Australia. So in one way or the other, in some way or the other, it reached Australia, and the Australian government then later confiscated it in airport or in some other way. So after that, India cannot directly get it back. So there has to be an agreement signed between these two countries, so that the Australian government agrees to send it back to India after proper, uh, investigation, that yes, it truly belongs to India, not to some other country. Because say for example, something which belongs to some other country, India brings it back, then there will be again a clash and a conflict with that country, India and Australia. So after all these agreements, Australia has agreed to give us back, three antiquities: the sacred bull Nandi, the stone-headed six-head, the stone idol of six-headed Kartikeya, and the trident Kali or the Bhadra Kali. And all of these antiques, they belonged to Tamil Nadu, and this will be brought back to India. Just for your prelims perspective or for your prelims remember the sacred bull Nandi belongs to Kashi Vishwanath temple of Tamil Nadu. The trident, auspicious Kali or Bhadrakali belongs again to Kashi Vishwanath temple of Tamil Nadu, and the six-headed Shanka. You see, this is the six-headed Shanka, or it is also called as the Kartikeya, belongs to the Naganatha Swami temple of Tamil Nadu. The next article is basically India-Indonesia relationship. So just like we know, the Prime Minister has visited Indonesia recently, and he was awarded with the highest civilian award, that is the Bintang Adipurna Award. And this award was given to our Prime Minister as um, as a testimony, of mutual respect and love towards India. And Prime Minister Modi is the second person from India to be awarded with this highest civilian award. Before to him, Jawaharlal Nehru was awarded with the civilian award. Now, if you talk about Indonesia, India has a long history with Indonesia. How in we have seen that even during non-cooperation movement, Indonesia was one of the hotspot for the discussion, and it was Indian uh, Indians who went to Indonesia and also signed the non-cooperation movement. If you know the name of the place where it was signed, please write down in the comment section. So this made a historical civilization link or a bilateral tie between these two countries. Now, what all did happen in this particular meeting of our Prime Minister with the Indonesian Prime Minister? So basically, the main goal was to strengthen the comprehensive strategic partnership, and there were 20 landmarks agreements which were signed. So we are going to look into this agreement also in one by one in detail. So if you look into this particular map, this is our India. Here you will find Indonesia. This is the region of Indonesia. Okay, this is the region of Indonesia. Now if we look into the geographical location of Indonesia, you will see that Indonesia is somewhat kind of a neighbor to India. Though it might seem that they are very far away from India, but they are neighbor to India, because here, somewhere here, you will find the Indira point. That is the last most point of India, and just few kilometers from Indira point, you will find the northernmost point of Indonesia. That is this particular point, the northernmost point. And that is why in this agreement, I mean in this visit, India has agreed to develop the Sarbang port in the northernmost point of Indonesia, this particular region. Now, another importance of in Indonesia's good relationship with India is that this particular region security is maintained or is handled by the Indian Army primarily. So, the security of ship movement or the maritime security is primarily in the hands of Indian Army, and thus a good relationship for Indonesia to with India is important for the security purpose also. Also, you will see that this particular region is called as the Malacca Strait, and this is the busiest sea route of the world, and the security of Malacca Strait is also primarily under the Indian Navy, and thus you will see that Indonesia and India has to maintain a good relationship so that the entire maritime security of this region is maintained, and there is easy and free flow or movement of trades in this region. And also, if we look into Indo-Pacific strategy or the Indo-Pacific vision of India, Indonesia plays a very, very important role because of its location in the start of the Indian Ocean, or its location which is very much near to the Indian island of Andaman and Nicobar. So these are certain reasons why India will always look towards building a good relationship with Indonesia, and it is not something which has happened recently, but since long time period, India had a good relationship or had always been a strategically important partner to Indonesia. In the same way, vice versa, Indonesia also has been a very important strategical partner for India. You see, in this particular summit, they plan to set up the Tiger cultural and educational diplomacy. They declare 2026 as the Tiger cultural and educational diplomacy year. Why? Because it has been 100 years. That is in 1927. Not 20, not this year. Next year they will declare it as the Tiger cultural and educational year. Why? Because 100 years back in 1927, Rabindranath Tagore visited Indonesia and improved their culture and education. Basically, he brought a lot of reforms to uphold or to maintain or to improve the culture and education of India. So, in this way, we see that there is a long relationship of India with Indonesia. So, let's look into some of the landmark agreements which happened in this visit. So, the first is the defense. That is, Indonesia signed around 200 million USD in contract to procure batteries for the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile system. And also, the both the countries have decided to develop the Indonesian Sabang port, which is a strategically important port for India in the Malacca Strait, the Sabang port, which I showed you right now. Then also the SAIL, that is Steel Authority of India, has signed an agreement with Indonesia to establish a high capacity stainless steel curve manufacturing facilities, and also has signed an MOU for joint development of rare earth magnet. And these rare earth magnets are important for EV vehicles and also are important for electronic devices. Next is the agreement or the MOU signed in the space and technology sector. Here, the first you remember that it is the launch of ION. It is nothing but it is an UPI based system like we have in India, like the same India has done with Mauritius, I mean Seychelles, wherein India has agreed to share this technology of UPI payment with Seychelles. In the same way, India has also agreed to share this technology of UPI payment with Indonesia, and also a framework agreement for cooperation in the exploration and the use of outer space. So both these countries, though India is advanced in terms of space technology than Indonesia, yet India is signing agreements with them so that in one way or other they have this belief and they have this trust in us regarding the maintaining of friendship, because they might not be advanced with science and technology, but yet we are giving them the opportunity so that in future whenever there is a need in some other sector, we can take help from them. The next is the health and disaster management, wherein an MOU has been signed between Central Drugs Centered Control Organization and Indonesia to harmonize the medicinal product regulation. And also there is an MOU signed between NDMA, that is National Disaster Management Authority, with the INAD, that is Indonesian National Agency for Disaster. So these two organizations, they will work together, they will train together, and also there will be exchange of technology and skills for maintaining of disaster, because we know like India, Indonesia also is located in a region which is very much severe to frequent earthquake, tsunamis and volcanic activities. And just like what we have seen in Venezuela recently, so Indonesia definitely will look forward to maintain a good relationship or ties with the neighboring country in terms of disaster management, wherein they can exchange skills, technology, and also personnels in required time. And the last, we can say that there is an transfer or the supply of around 100 ton of high quality 162 wheat seeds to Indonesia to boost or to aid the agricultural product of Indonesia. So overall, we can say that in defense, in agriculture, in terms of people to people transfer, because here also there was the agreement signed for the people to people transfer, wherein people of Indonesia will come to India and people of India will go to Indonesia for exchange of skills, educations and services. So there were these agreements which were signed between these two countries, and it is kind of a good achievement for India, because we see this will counter the string of pearl which is being built by China around the Indian Ocean to counter India. So India, as a response in a responsive nature, will always strive to build good diplomatical ties through some other means other than money. It could be culturally, it could be in terms of education, it could be in terms of tradition, it could be in terms of gifting humanitarian helps and etc. And in this visit you'll see a very interesting thing is that, which was in the news, is this particular temple which is called as the Prambanam temple. India has, you know, gi- has come forward. It is not the first time that India is doing this. India has done this earlier also, but in this particular meeting, India has come forward and has uh, given its hand to Indonesia in helping rebuild and restore this particular UNESCO heritage temple, which is named as the Prambanam temple. Now, this basically will seal the cultural ties and also will seal the religious tie between India and Indonesia, because this restoration of the temple is not alone as something which will build the relationship between India and Indonesia a stronger one, but also will uphold the values of Hinduism in the world, wherein we can say that in spite of these temples not being in our country, being in some other places, we give utmost priority to restore or rebuild it, so that the ethos of Hinduism is upholded in the global scenario. So this is what is the temple. Now, if you talk about this temple, it is a temple from the 9th century, and there are more than 200 subsidiary strings around this temple. And if we look into it, this is the main temple, and there are a lot of other temples around the temple, such as there are temples of Vishnu, there are temples of Brahma, but the center is basically the temple of Shiva. And you see there are a lot of ruins around the temple, and these ruins has basically resulted from a decade old non maintenance, and also through various damages done by people over the time since 19th century. So you see that this is one of the very good initiative by the Indian government for the restoration of the Prambanam temple. Also remember, it is a UNESCO heritage, world heritage site, which was designated in 1991. And apart from this, around these temples, you will not just see other Hindu temples, but also you will see a lot of Buddhist shrinks which have developed. Now, if you just go back to a little bit to the history, you can definitely say it was during this time period where the Chola dynasty was very much prevalent in India, and we can say that the development of this temple during that time period had been highly influenced by the strong, powerful Chola dynasty in India. And this particular temple was built by the Sanjaya dynasty, who was also a Hindu king or a Hindu kingdom. So you can conclude to this point that during this time period there were a lot of development of Hindu temple and spread of Hinduism in the Southeast Asian region. And today all of these monuments, Hindu monuments, temples, etc., shrinks are to be maintained or are to be restored, so that history is preserved in a proper sense with authenticity. So this is all about the temple, which is important for your prelims perspective. The next article is the 13th Asian India Trade in Goods and Agreement, that is ITIGA. Now there was an summit, or there was a meeting or joint committee meeting uh, which was held in New Delhi regarding the Indian Trade and Good Agreement, that is AITIGA. And what now, to understand this, what you have to do is that you have to go back to understand what is this ASEAN country. Now we know India is not a member of this ASEAN country, right? So all of these ASEAN countries, so there are how many? 11 ASEAN countries. There are 11 ASEAN countries, and India is not a member of these 11 ASEAN countries. But India does trades with the ASEAN independent countries. So India does not trade with the ASEAN countries. I mean, India is not a member of the group, but yet India does trade with the countries individually. Say India does trade with Indonesia, India does trade with Malaysia, etc. So this is one agreement or a free trade agreement between the countries of ASEAN and India. So this is what it is, a comprehensive multilateral free trade agreement signed between India and the Association of Southeast Asian Nation. But remember, India is not a member of ASEAN. So being a member is different, and doing trade with those members, I mean, is different. Example is like you might not be a member of a club, you might not get entry into the club, but you can definitely do business with the members of those clubs. So this is what you understand. Though it is not a member, but India can do business with the countries of ASEAN. Now what it is a legal and tariff framework for governing the merchandise trade and cutting import duties. This is nothing but to develop a regional strong supply chain mechanism. The initial agreement was signed in August 13, 2009, but and officially came into force in 2010. So this is what, after 2010, this is the 13 Asian India trade in goods and agreement. Now if we talk about the ASEAN countries, you'll see that, like just like I said, you ASEAN, there are 11 countries, and it was established in 1967 in Bangkok under the Bangkok Declaration. And these ASEAN countries, they have created a, uh, uh, a trade which is called as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which is the world's largest free trade agreement, because this free trade is done between all of these countries. Say for example, though India is not a member of ASEAN, like I said you, but yet India can trade with this country individually under the ITCA agreement, that is free trade agreement. But here what happens is that if India has to sign a free trade agreement with say Indonesia, India has to go in a meeting with Indonesia. If India has to sign with Malaysia, India has to go and do a meeting with Malaysia. But had India been a member of ASEAN nation, then as a result of this free trade agreement, India could have done trade with all the ASEAN countries, because you become the member of the club, and whatever applies, it applies to all the members of the club. So in this way, you can say that this particular 13 Asian India free trade agreement on trade on goods is basically something wherein we are signing this agreement with the countries of ASEAN for better free trade and to improve the regional supply chain of this region. And for prelims perspective, remember about the RCEP. This is what? This is basically the free trade agreement signed between these countries, which is the world's largest free trade agreement. Now, is India a member of RCEP? Okay, India earlier signed has signed it earlier, but presently, I don't remember the date or year, but presently India is not a signatory, or India has basically withdrawn. India has withdrawn from RCEP. Why? Because of personal interest, India thought that this will basically create a problem in the domestic supply of our country. There will be deficit in our economy, and also with this free trade agreement, what will happen? There will be, flooding of Indian market with Chinese good. Because what will China do? China's goods cannot come directly to India, but China will send their goods through these countries to India. Say for example, Malaysia has a free trade agreement with India, so China will send their products to Malaysia, and Malaysia will send it to India, as a free trade agreement. So there were a lot of issues which was raised recently. I think 2019 it happened, wherein India withdrew from RCEP. But earlier to that, India was a signatory of RCEP. The next article is your locus digital platform. This is a very short article, a very important article, but to understand this article, you have to understand one particular uh, program or scheme of government, that is the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihood Mission. Now what is this mission? Now if you talk about this mission was launched in 2011 by the Ministry of Rural Development, and it is a center sponsored scheme. But however, in 2015 it was changed to Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihood Mission, that is DNRLM. Now in nutshell, if I have to tell you about this particular scheme, the objective or the aim of this scheme is to reduce poverty in the rural level, or in the rural grassroots level. Now here, what under this scheme, what will they do? They will basically empower women. They will upgrade the skills of women in such a way that the woman is able to stand on her own foot and continue her life as an free empowered woman. So this was the main goal of this particular scheme, day NRLM. Now under this scheme you will see some important initiatives such as like the Lakpati Didi schemes, which you might have heard. You'll also see about the Namo drone Didi schemes, which is a very popular scheme. And in these schemes, what do? They basically form a self-help group among the women. Say example, they form a group of 4 to 5 women. They skill those women, then they supply them with money in form of loan or subsidies from the banks, and then they basically empower them by giving them some good opportunities like such as job or such as some work in the manufacturing sector, or it could be in the agricultural sector. So basically overall, the aim of this scheme is that the rural poverty should be reduced through empowering of women, that is mobilize rural poor household into self-help groups, that is form a group, give them money, give skill them, and also provide them with all the benefits so that they have the source of income for themselves. So this is the main goal. Now what is this locus? The locus is nothing but it is a portal, it is a application, or you can say it is a web wherein all of this data of our day NRLM will be stored in locus. Because earlier to this, the data of this self-help group, like which woman is getting what sum of money, where is the loan coming from, where is the woman getting skilled, where is she getting employed, or what is the unique digital ID of a particular person. And also there is a lot of paperwork being done in the government offices to maintain the data or to maintain the records of the beneficiary of this scheme. So basically locus is nothing but it is a portal. Okay, it's a mobile based application wherein all the data of you the NRLM will be stored. Now this particular initiative is a very good initiative because this will improve the accountability of the government, it will improve the transparency of the government, and also it will reduce the corruption which was happening. Because if the money has to come through some third party or through bank, and it has to get uh, say it has to get credited to a particular self-help group, then there are a lot of paperwork being done in between, and here what happened, there is some snipping off or sniping off of money to third party or to third person. But here what happens is that this portal will enable the self-help group to know their rights, and also will enable in tracking the real time data. Also the government also will also able to analyze the data and give out best suitable outcomes for the woman. So it is nothing but a portal, and the purpose is basically reduce manual record keeping, reduce manual sorry okay reduce manual record keeping, and improve transparency and accountability. And also the third you can say is to reduce corruption. Okay, but however, to make this a success, there has to be digital literacy in the village region, village among the women, because we know the most of the women are not digitally literate, that they might be using some digital phone, but they are not that you know uh, aware, or they are not that good with the phones in terms of certain applications and web portals. Okay, here in this locus, you might have hear about you will hear again about a thing called she leap. That this is something which is important for your prelims. Okay, what is this she leap? This particular program she leap was also launched in Delhi. So as per day NRLM, they will help certain self help group, that is the women has to come together, and then they will be given certain benefits by the government. But according to Shilip, which was launched recently with Locus, they say that individual women will also be eligible, or individual women also will get the benefit of the government in terms of getting empowered. Say if you want to do a business, you can individually go and apply for it, and you will get subsidized loan, or you will get the infrastructure help for your business. Basically, it is nothing but it is a support from the government's Lakpati Didi mission to boost the women's financial inclusion. The next article is Disable Child Sex Abuse Contained by METI, that is in Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology. Now, to understand this article, see, uh, we know that most of the digital platforms, such as most popularly the Meta, which runs Instagram, there is a lot of explicit content in these digital platforms, and these platform authorities are also not doing enough to reduce or remove this explicit content. And these explicit contents are also networked in such a way that from Instagram you get an ad of, say example, trafficking, child trafficking, or you get an ad where it shows about child abuse, or it shows a half naked or explicit content rather, I would say. And then from there you get linked to another platform, say for example Telegram, where you are asked to pay a sum of money and view the entire content. Because in Instagram you are just shown with some few seconds clip, and then you click it, and then you're redirected to some other application, and then there you pay some amount and then view the entire content. And recently, it has been seen that content such as related to child sexual abuse, related to uh, related to child pornography, or related to explicit content, particularly, has been mushrooming in such a way in the internet that it is become difficult for normal citizens to even run or to operate their Instagram. Like example, if you cannot randomly play your Instagram or your Facebook. Instagram is more dangerous than Facebook and all other. You cannot play them publicly, because you never know what kind of ad will pop up, what kind of videos will pop up. So it becomes very dangerous. So the government has basically instructed Meta, the parent company of Instagram, to disable advertisement which contain child sexual abuse and exploitative materials. So the government has said that you disable this immediately and give an explanation within 7 days, and you provide other relevant measures to prevent such content in future. So the government has been very strict with these applications, particularly Meta, to remove it and give explanation within 7 days. Now all of this basically came to light after the action by BBC Eye investigation, which they said that around the world this is happening, wherein particularly children, small children, are being targeted for various uh, scams, and also various platforms wherein they pay some sort of money and then view this explicit content. And it was basically related to sexual abuse, child pornography, and etc. So this is the news which the government has said that you remove it immediately. Now, related to this particular news, there are certain things which you can relate it to your mains preparation and also to your prelims preparation, that what are the legal provisions in India related to social media. The first and the most important is basically the 2000 Act, that is the Information Technology Act of 2000. Basically, the Information Technology Act of 2000 says that it is punishable to publish or transmit obscene material electronically, and also it provides stricter punishment if the content involves certain children. So there is already a law in India regarding this particular act, that is if you electronically if you publish any obscene content or any explicit content related to nudity and etc., which basically hampers the dignity of a person, you will be booked under this particular provision, legal provision, that is Information Technology Act 2000. So basically it protects and it prevents the excessive use of the social media or the negative use of social media. Apart from this, there is also the IT rule 2021, and this IT rule basically says that social media intermediates should exercise due diligence, and if they fail to comply, they will lose the safe harbor. Now, these two words might be new to you. So here he says that the person or the companies who runs the social media should exercise due diligence. What is this due diligence? The due diligence means that they should have a self responsibility within their organization. That is, this responsibility should be based in such a way that is they do not hurt the sentiment of any individual, sentiment of any individual. They uphold the value of the country. Okay, they do not promote any content which could lead to war, or which could lead to civil unrest, or which could lead to cultural or traditional degradation. So basically, due diligence is basically they should have a responsibility, and there should be responsible use of social media platform. And the operating companies should maintain this among themselves. They should not be profit oriented as such, that in the race of getting more views, or in the race of getting more revenue through sponsors, they are basically destroying the culture, tradition, or the values of the country. They are not looking into the dignity, or they are not looking into any humanitarian aspect. So this is what is due diligence. So the IT rule says that these media intermediaries should exercise this due diligence, or else if they do not exercise it, they will lose the safe harbor protection. Now, what is the safe harbor protection? Safe harbor protection is a kind of immunity given to the social media or the social media platforms or the companies, when it is difficult for them to control everything. We understand it, but the safe harbor protection is the protection given by the government for their operation in India. So basically, the government says that you will be given a safe harbor, you will be given a immunity in the various aspects, but you cannot neglect the due diligence. You will have to exercise it. So this is what is the safe harbor protection provision. It is the digital platforms are not accused if they follow the due diligence. That is, if they are following all of it, then they will not be accused. Or else, if they are not following it, they will lose the immunity, and they will be subjected to punishments. And what there are other government measures against this particular child sexual explicit content. That is, the first one is the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal, which basically reports complaints related to cyber crime, including crime against children, and the Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center, which is an effort to combat crime against particularly children in India. So these are certain India provisions in terms of social media operation in India. The next article is a need a second home for Asiatic lion. Now, this has been in news because of the relocation of the Asiatic lion. There has been various approaches by various environmentalists and government organizations saying that the Asiatic lions of India are only located in Gir. Now, to understand this, just let's understand the geography and the ecological aspect of this particular news. See, you will see here in Gujarat, there is this Gir Wildlife Sanctuary, and this Gir Wildlife Sanctuary has one of the unique uh, species, that is the Asiatic lion, and you will not find Asiatic lion anywhere else in India. So what happens is that people or environmentalists are in concern that there is a single location of the Asiatic lion. This is something which is not to be so which is something not to be so happy about it, or it is not something of a pride, but it is of a concern. Why it is of a concern? Because if there is any spread of disease, zoonotic disease, or if there is any harsh climatic phenomena happening in this region, all the lions will be in the state of getting extinct or will be in danger. So one particular location of a species which is so much important for the maintenance of ecological balance in one place is not a good idea. There has to be certain provisions wherein the lions are being relocated from Gir to some other places. Only then we can assure their existence. But the Gujarat government is denying this, wherein they say, like the Supreme Court has said in 2013, that you have to relocate these lions from Gir National Park to Kundo National Park in Madhya Pradesh. But Gujarat government denied it, and they said that no, we will not relocate it to Madhya Pradesh. We will relocate it, but we will relocate it within our state. And thus the Gujarat government has started this program called Project Lion, wherein they're supposed to relocate the Gir Asiatic lion from the Gir National Park to the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary, which is just north of Porbandar or north of Gir National Park. Now, though this is a very a long debating news, but yet you should apply your analytical brain mindset to understand that yes, it is true that if the lions are kept in one geographical location which is very near to each other, any kind of spread of disease or any kind of climatic impact might impact the existence or might hamper the existence of this Asiatic lion. And these Asiatic lions are the pride of India, so relocating them to some other location is important. But yes, here they were also questioned by the Gujarat government that the relocation of the lions will result into death of these lions, because the ecosystem which they get in Gir, they will not get this in any part of India. That is also fine, but a pilot survey or a pilot relocation can be done for the time being to understand these particular uh, behavior of lions, like we have done in Kundo National Park, where we have relocated, not relocated, we have imported cheetahs from Namibia, and today they are doing very, very fine. So initially there could be some problem, but this relocation of lions from Gir National Park should be done. But like I said, the Gujarat government has not denied it, but they have said that we'll relocate it to the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, just to know about this Asiatic lion from a prelims perspective, it is under the protection status of IUCN Red List as endangered, found in Gujarat only. As per CITES, they fall under Appendix 1, they are highly protected, and as per Wildlife Protection Act, they fall under Schedule 1, which is highly restricted, and you cannot hunt them, you cannot kill them, it is punishable. The Project Lion, like I said you, in 2020 it was launched, wherein they said that they will relocate the lions, they will find an alternative site, that is the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary. So now if you talk about the location of lion, you do not just consider it is found in Gir National Park, it is also found in the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary. Just few data related to your uh, text context or the prelims context. The total population of Asiatic lion today is 891, which is an increase by 32% from 2020, where it was only 674. So basically it is an good sign that the Asiatic lions are improving and they're also healthy. The population distribution is 384 lions living in one particular region, and this particular non-forested area has increased from 340 to 570 in 2025. In Gir National Park alone, there are 394 lions. In Amreli, they have the highest concentration, the highest count of 257. And while the Mitiala Wildlife Sanctuary has population of 32 lions only. And the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary, where the relocation is happening, there is a record of 17 lions. So eventually we can say that the lions from Gir National Park, they will be equally distributed in this region of the Pania Wildlife Sanctuary, then Mitiala Wildlife Sanctuary, and the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary. So this is what is Project Lion. Just like Project Tiger, it is a Project Lion. Project Tiger is to protect the tiger from getting extinct through killing or through disease, spread of diseases. This is more about Project Lion is more about relocation of the lions. Again, definitely to do protect them and survive them. The next is Indira Point project. Now this has been in news. Now if you look into this image, this is a lighthouse. Okay, this is a lighthouse, and this lighthouse is basically called as the Indira Point, which is the southernmost point of India. Now if you look into India, here you have your Andaman and Nicobar Island, and this southernmost point is called as the Indira Point. It's called as the Indira Point. This point is beyond the Kanyakumari point also. So that's why we say that this is the southernmost point, Indira Point. And in the southernmost point, we have a lighthouse. And this is the project. That is the Indira Point project means that we are putting effort, or will put effort in improving the condition of this lighthouse. Just like we have seen how India is working towards in developing a good relationship or ties in the Indo-Pacific region. So the location of the Indira Point is in such a place that it becomes important in terms of maritime navigation, or in terms of trade and commerce which is happening in this region. So this is the project to develop this lighthouse in Indira Point. I mean in the Indira Point region, the lighthouse. Now what happened to this lighthouse? Basically in 2004, when there was this tsunami, there was subduction of this ground, and also there was a tilting of the entire landmass here, because of which this uh, lighthouse got tilted, and also the base of the lighthouse became weaker, and thus India is beginning with this project of restoring the lighthouse in Indira Point. Now location wise, if you see, this is the Indira Point, which is located in the Galatia Bay. This Galatia Bay was very much in news, if you remember. The the I mean, the head of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, basically went to this particular region and made a lot of allegations to telling how the government is going to misutilize this project. So basically, remember, this is something which is related to your Great Nicobar project. Okay, it is one of the initiative of Great Nicobar project, and the Great Nicobar project is also something which is supposed to happen in this particular region. So this is one initiative under the Great Nicobar project. Like if you talk about Great Nicobar project, you will hear about the Galatia Bay, you will hear in this region development of an international port. Okay, then the international container transshipping terminal. What is this transshipping terminal which is under the Great Nicobar project? The transshipping terminal means large cargo ships will come and they will dock here, and from here, say any country, or say here, from here, if the product has to come to India, the large ship will not come to India. There will be smaller ships which will bring this product or bring this cargo to India. In this way, what happened? The docking problem in the eastern coast of India will reduce, and also the ships can transform all of this product to India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan from this docking port of Indra, Andaman and Nicobar Island. So what happens is that these large ships will not have to enter into the into the sovereignty of India, and outside from India, I mean not sovereignty as in, like I would say, into the boundary of India, where there are different problems of, because if a large ship enters into Indian port for docking, it takes a long time for them to come out of the India port. There are a lot of paperwork. So here what happens is that smaller ships will, you know, take the cargoes from the larger ship and will deliver them in their respective location. So this is all about your Indira Point. And remember, this Indira Point was basically coined in the earlier, it was basically called as, Peg Moline Point. A lot of people say that after the tsunami, this point completely got vanished. Yes, it definitely subducted a little lower. Earlier, this lighthouse was in a location which was basically, near exactly to the coast, and it was on top of certain rock structure. But today you see it has gone inside the sea. I mean, and there are waves coming from this lighthouse. So yes, it has subducted, but even today we have this port or the lighthouse. Next is the Operation Amritsar. This is nothing but a humanitarian operation. We recently know about the earthquake which happened in Venezuela, and Indian government has given out its help or support as an humanitarian diplomacy, where he has committed to provide relief material and medical achievement. In terms of relief material, you will see 35 tons of emergency relief materials, 6 tons of medicines, medical equipment, survival kits, tents, and etc. Apart from this, there is also medical achievements of like setting up operations in Caracas, that is the capital of Venezuela. The Indian Army will send their medical team, which have successfully treated. I mean, said Indian medical team which have successfully treated earthquake impact individuals. So this is nothing but a diplomatical tie, wherein India has demonstrated how India treats the entire world with the ethos of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. That is, the world is one family. So we are not just saying it, we are also doing it as being the first responder in any kind of humanitarian crisis. We have done this with Turkey, and now we have done this with Sri Lanka, we have done this with Nepal, and now we are doing it with Venezuela. Just remember the operation Amit Sad. The last article is the Mahendragiri steel freight to be commissioned. Now, to understand this, remember that there are certain naval ships. Say, let's say these are the 4 naval ships. This is called as the aircraft carrier. This particular ship will is very big, and they can carry aircrafts, they can carry fighter jets, they can carry helicopters. So it is a huge you know uh, ship which is basically called as an aircraft carrier. And you might have seen that these fighter jets, they take off from here, they land here. This is the largest one. Followed by this is basically called a destroyer. Destroyers are what? Destroyers are something, a ship which are you know um, equipped with heavy arms. Okay, primarily offensive warship. Basically, when you see this aircraft carrier moving, you will see some destroyers which are basically bordering or guarding this aircraft carrier, or basically we can say is uh, escorting the aircraft carrier. So they are what? They are basically the name destroyer says that they are equipped with a lot of warfare, or a lot of weapons which basically is an offensive, which is basically an offensive um, naval ship which is used during the time of war or during the time of crises. Next, the third is called as a frigate, which we are talking in this article is the frigate. So frigate is what? Frigate is smaller than a destroyer, but frigate has the equivalent equipments or weapons, not exactly equivalent. You can say frigates are smaller than destroyers, and frigate have less weaponized than the destroyer. So frigates are smaller comparatively, and they are called as the workhouse of the navy. Now, in what is the use of frigate? Say this ship is moving ahead into enemy's water body, the destroyer will escort the ship and will protect it from different incomings. What will the frigate do? The frigate will travel earlier to this convoy and will basically recce the entire place, or will recce the path through which they are coming. So they are smaller, very small comparatively, but as because they will recce, so they will require some kind of protection. So they will also have certain arms and ammunitions installed in them, but it will be, say, lesser compared to the destroyer. And the last one is called as the corvette, and these are smaller than frigate, and mainly it is used for coastal surveillance or coastal defense. They will not go into deep ocean. Okay, now these frigates are basically someone, like I told you, they will be used to monitor or scan the path or recce the path. So they will require a lot of you know radar kind of system, or they will also require a kind of technology within themselves wherein they are not detected by the enemy or by the enemy ship. So that is called as the shelt. shelt. So that is what shelt frigate. So shelt matlab, it is something which is not detected by the radar, and frigate is basically this third category which is used for recce and to find out paths for the incoming larger war ships. Remember, they are called as a workhouse. So now, as you have understood this, now you come to this point that India has commissioned a stealth frigate which is named as the Mahindra Giri. So India today has a lot of frigates, and one of them is Mahindra Giri, which was designed by Indian Navy warship at Mazgaon in dock ship Builder Limited in Mumbai. And this Mahendragiri Steel Frigate is the seventh and final ship of Nilgiri class. Now, what is this Nilgiri class? To understand this Nilgiri class, remember, to develop frigate, India has three projects. One is called as the Project 17, which is also called as the Shivalik class. Under this Project 17, we had three frigates. One is Shivalik, Satpura, and Sayadri. Then in 2017, we had this Project 17A, which is called as the Nilgiri class, where you had frigates named Nilgiri, Himgiri, Taragiri, Dunagiri, Mahendragiri, and the Vidyagiri. So basically, this is the Mahendragiri which is getting commissioned, and all of these they already got commissioned. This already got commissioned, and once this project is over in 2027, we are going to have another third project for the development of more futuristic frigate that will be called as the 17B plan or the 17B project. And under this, what we will do is that in our frigate, we'll equip them with, missiles. Okay, we'll equip them with BrahMos so that they are more deadlier. So this is what is Project 17A, 17B, and 17. So 17 is done, it is over. This is ongoing, and this is the future project. So this is the news that India has successfully commissioned the Mahendragiri steel frigate, and it's an achievement for India. In coming years, we want this frigate to be stronger, or frigates should be equipped with better weapons, so that in coming years, whenever there is any kind of need for us to move from one region to another, our naval fleet is protected, because they are basically the uh, uh, group of ships which provides passage, I mean safe passage for the incoming naval fleets. And in future, definitely we'll be developing our aircraft carrier also. Definitely one day we'll reach to the state also. We have already started on this. So this is what is frigate. So remember, frigate, destroyer, aircraft carrier, and then last you have the corvette. So that's all for today. I hope this was informative. And if you have anything or any query, you can comment in the comment section. Till then, keep studying, and we'll meet you on next Saturday. Thank you. Take care.